because you have found, Miqdad, 300 people currently in the Conservative Party ranks who have publicly expressed pretty vile views.
I think that's exactly right. And what we see through a large number of these cases, of which there are, different scales of issues, of people talking about Muslims should be sterilized, should be thrown off bridges, should be deported, shouldn't be allowed in the country. I mean, it's really quite astonishing to see the scale of it, and it's the breadth, the depth of them, what you see is what we call the dismissal, the denial and deceit of the party. They dismiss anyone who says anything. They deny it's a problem in the first place. And they actually deceive the public. And that's the real problem. Like the former chair, Brandon Lewis, was public and he said there are no outstanding complaints. And Hope Not Hate just said, well, here are 3 complaints. What are you guys doing? You're just lying. And he wasn't able to answer.
He's been promoted now.
And he's been promoted, exactly. You look at it and you see they say that these meaningless platitudes like we're going to take swift action, but we have so many cases where they haven't taken swift action. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, says 1 bounce and you're out. The number of cases where individuals have been silently or secretly let back into the party, it's crazy. And you look at it and it's not an issue of one individual case. It's an issue of cases across the party, from memberships to councillors to representatives to MPs, all of them, as well as the leadership and the decisions made by the party. 2/3 of party members, according to one poll, 2/3 of party members believe that parts of UK are under Sharia law. Like, these far-right conspiracy theories have infected the party to a level that you just wouldn't expect. 2/3 of the party membership.
That's an astonishing statistic, isn't it? But I guess it gets less astonishing the more time you spend at the dirtier end of social media, because that is where a lot of this, and it's where presumably you have found most of your evidence, is people who are now emboldened enough to post it on Facebook and other sites under their own names.
Exactly. And what we also have to realise is the Conservative Party membership is generally older than the populace, and so the number of people who actually are on social media is probably quite low. So this is, my guess, would be a significant underestimate of the real challenge at play here.
I'm not being mischievous, but actually your concern, quite rightly, is with the targets of this hatred. My concern often is with the receptacles of the hatred, because their lives are being ruined by these sort of lies and rhetoric as well. If you really do believe, and I'm not going to read out much of this stuff, but if you really did believe that everybody with brown skin was a rapist, for example, or everybody of the Muslim faith was a paedophile, you'd be living your life in a state of terror and anger, which is, of course, what terrorists want us to do. And so, in many ways, when I read your stories, my initial reaction is sympathy for the faceless victims. But then, and I hope you don't find this problematic, then I start feeling sorry for people like the former mayor of Wokingham, who is clearly being held hostage by hatred.
I think that's actually very, very true. And I agree with that entirely. The real problem is not necessarily the individuals. It's the structures which allow this to happen, which ferment this, which make this something which, is impacting on wider society. And I made this very clear point. If we want Islamophobia in society to be tackled, which is a serious problem, we need the government to get their house in order. This is not difficult stuff.
And I suppose if anyone was going to be cynical or sceptical about your findings, and I can't imagine that anybody would, especially not if they profess to give a hoot about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, it would be Saeed Awasi that we'd point at first, probably, because if you can be chair of the Conservative Party and pretty much endorse everything you've said, to then say that the party hasn't got a problem, I think in the not too distant past, that would have been almost impossible to believe. I
think that's exactly right. And from the top, from Baroness Awasi, who understands the ins and outs of the party, saying that they've got a serious problem.
Chairperson of the party. She kind of knows her way around it.
Exactly. Right. I mean, even Lord Sheikh, you've got the person who is the Conservative Muslim Forum, so the biggest affiliate of the Conservative Party. He actually has left the party. I mean, the scale of the issue cannot be understated when we look at the challenges. And unfortunately, when the Equality and Human Rights Commission have said we're going to decide what action, if any, we will take, I mean, we really need to ensure that there is equality and all people who face discrimination are treated equally.
The problem, of course, is that this isn't happening accidentally. I haven't got there yet. Maybe you're a bit further into it than I am. But when I read about culture wars, all I've got at the moment, apart from Brexit and Trump, all I've got is this insistence from many people that we should treat all Muslims as suspect or as bad. And it works politically. It works electorally. So I wonder how optimistic you can really be that a party whose power rests upon propagating views like this is going to be concerned enough to address people following their lead, shall we say. I mean, remember, we've got a Prime Minister who writes about letterboxes and bank robbers, and then Conservative MPs turn up on telly telling black people what is and what is not racist. So I suppose what I'm saying is, aren't you being a bit naive expecting the leadership to care about this? They're probably clapping.
That's a very... that's a point that's been made quite a lot.
I thought I was being really clever.
No, I think that we have asked the Equality and Human Rights Commission to look at this for the simple reason that we don't trust the party to deal with it internally. And that's why, Sajid Javid earlier talked about the importance of an independent external investigation. That's why we think it's something that
they all promised one in the election campaigns, didn't they? In their leadership campaigns, and then retreated and rescinded immediately afterwards, which kind of proves my point.